always been a place of secrets. Its walls hold centuries of untold stories, unspoken truths, and unanswered questions. But every once in a while, something so unexpected happens that it threatens to crack through that silence. This time, Pope Francis has done just that. In a move that has left both the public and religious leaders stunned, he's decided to reveal the truth about Camilla, something that's been buried for far too long. For years, this truth was shielded, locked away in the shadows. Why now? Why would Pope Francis choose to uncover something so disturbing, so shocking at this moment? What does it mean for those involved, and for the rest of us watching as the story unfolds? Pope Francis, a leader of transparency. What happens when a humble man from Buenos Aires is chosen to lead one of the most powerful religious institutions in the world? Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on December 17, 1936, Pope Francis grew up in a modest family. His father was a railway worker and his mother a homemaker, instilling in him a strong sense of humility and a commitment to service. Young Jorge's life changed forever after a serious illness as a teenager, during which he had part of a lung removed. This near-death experience shaped his faith and set him on a path to become a priest. In 1958, Bergoglio joined the Jesuits, an order known for its intellectual rigor and social activism. His rise through the ranks of the Catholic Church was steady but quiet. He served as Archbishop of Buenos Aires, where he gained a reputation as a compassionate, hands-on leader who rode public transport and mingled with the poor. But in 2013, everything changed. Following the shocking resignation of Pope Benedict XVI, Jorge Mario Bergoglio was elected as the first pope from the Americas, the first Jesuit pope, and the first to take the name Francis, in honor of Saint Francis, Francis of Assisi. That choice alone was a statement. Saint Francis is known for his devotion to poverty and care for the marginalized, values that would define this new papacy. From a priest riding buses to the global leader of over 1 billion Catholics, how does Pope Francis stay true to his humble beginnings while addressing the enormous challenges of the modern church? From the moment Pope Francis stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica after his election, it was clear he was different. Instead of the traditional papal regalia, he appeared in a simple white cassock, a gesture of humility that set the tone for his papacy. He refused to live in the opulent apostolic palace, opting for a modest guest house instead. This simplicity wasn't just for show, it was a declaration of his commitment to transparency and reform. Pope Francis has often said, "The Church must be poor and for the poor." This philosophy has guided him as he tackled some of the most controversial and entrenched issues in the Catholic Church, from financial corruption to clerical abuse. When centuries-old secrets began to unravel, the world watched Pope Francis with bated breath. Would he follow through on his promise to reform the Church? Pope Francis inherited a church riddled with scandals and mistrust. For decades, the Catholic Church had faced mounting criticism over its handling of sexual abuse cases, financial opacity, and perceived disconnect from the modern world. Many saw his election as a chance for a fresh start, but the challenges were daunting. One of Pope Francis's most significant and public battles has been addressing the sexual abuse crisis that has rocked the Church worldwide. While his predecessors had taken steps to acknowledge the problem, Pope Francis went further, implementing measures to hold bishops accountable for covering up abuse. In 2019, he convened a historic summit in Vatican City with church leaders from around the world to tackle the issue head-on. The gathering was marked by survivors sharing their stories, bringing a raw and emotional depth to the discussions. Out of this summit came new policies, including mandatory reporting of abuse and the establishment of systems to protect minors and vulnerable adults. Still, critics have said these steps are not enough. While Pope Francis has apologized publicly and met with survivors, the road to full accountability remains long. Yet, his willingness to confront this issue openly is a marked shift from the Church's previous approach of silence and secrecy. But abuse wasn't the only shadow looming over the Vatican. What about the billions of dollars flowing through its opaque financial systems? For years, the Vatican's finances were shrouded in mystery, with rumors of corruption and mismanagement tarnishing its reputation. Pope Francis made it clear early on that this would not continue under his watch. He established a new secretariat for the economy, appointing Cardinal George Pell to oversee financial reforms. This department introduced modern accounting practices, audited accounts, and even closed hundreds of suspicious accounts within the Vatican Bank. One of the most dramatic moments in his fight for transparency came in 2020, when the Vatican charged Cardinal Angelo Becciu, a once powerful figure, with embezzlement. This unprecedented move sent a strong message. No one, not even high-ranking officials, was above scrutiny. Despite progress, financial reform has been slow and fraught with resistance. Yet, Pope Francis's determination has kept the spotlight on these issues, signaling that transparency is non-negotiable. What does it take for a single voice to cut through centuries of tradition and make the world stop and listen. Pope Francis's leadership has also been defined by his powerful words. His encyclicals, official letters to the Church, are deeply personal and tackle pressing global issues. In Laudato Si', 2015, Pope Francis addressed climate change, urging Catholics and the world to care for the earth as our common home. This groundbreaking document positioned the Catholic Church as a key player in the fight against environmental degradation, drawing praise from scientists and activists alike. Another landmark moment came with Fratelli Tutti, 2020, where he called for global solidarity and condemned divisive politics and social injustice. In this document, Pope Francis criticized a throwaway culture that discards the poor, the elderly, and the marginalized. Beyond his writings, his speeches often challenge the status quo. Who can forget his 2015 address to the U.S. Congress, where he implored lawmakers to remember the golden rule in their policies? Or his visit to Lesbos in 2016, where he met with refugees and brought several families back to the Vatican to offer them safety. But here's the real question: does his vision resonate beyond the walls of the Vatican? As Pope Francis approaches the later years of his papacy, his legacy as a leader of transparency is both celebrated and scrutinized. Critics argue that change has been too slow, while supporters admire his courage in tackling centuries of entrenched problems. One thing is clear: Pope Francis's commitment to openness has redefined what it means to lead the Catholic Church in the 21st century. From his humble beginnings in Argentina to his unprecedented reforms in the Vatican, he remains a figure who inspires hope and controversy in equal measure. Queen Camilla. How did a woman once labeled as the most hated woman in Britain rise to become Queen Consort? The transformation of Queen Camilla is a story you won't want to miss. Queen Camilla's journey from her early years to becoming a respected figure in the British monarchy is nothing short of extraordinary. Her life story has been a roller coaster of love, loss, scandal, and redemption, a tale of resilience that has captured the public's imagination. Today, she stands alongside King Charles III, commanding a respect that seemed impossible decades ago. But how did this transformation happen? Camilla Rosemary Shand was born on July 17, 1947, into an upper-class British family. Raised in the countryside, she grew up with a love for horses and a penchant for country life, which would later prove to be a bond between her and Charles. Her early life was one of privilege, but it wasn't marked by the intense public scrutiny that would define her later years. Camilla met Charles in the early 1970s, and their connection was instant. They shared a love of the outdoors, books, and a similar sense of humor. However, their romance was not destined to flourish at the time. Charles was called away for naval duties, and Camilla eventually married Andrew Parker Bowles, a dashing military officer, in 1973. Their love story might have ended there, but fate had other plans. Over the years, Camilla and Charles remained close friends, a friendship that eventually reignited into romance. By the 1980s, their relationship became an open secret among aristocratic circles. However, Charles was married to Princess Diana, a global icon adored by millions, and Camilla's presence in his life soon became a source of scandal. From whispers of forbidden love to global headlines, Camilla's name became synonymous with scandal. But was there more to her story than the media portrayed? When Charles and Diana's marriage began to crumble in the public eye, Camilla was thrust into the spotlight, and not in a favorable way. Diana's famous interview with Martin Bashir in 1995 immortalized the line, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Overnight, Camilla became a villain in the eyes of the public. The tabloids were merciless. They painted her as a homewrecker, a woman who had stolen the fairy tale princess's happily ever after. Her life became a battleground of paparazzi cameras, harsh headlines, and public disdain. For years, she was the subject of relentless attacks. But here's where Camilla's resilience shone. Instead of retreating from the public eye, she endured the criticism quietly. She maintained her composure, never retaliating against the media storm. Those close to her spoke of her warmth, wit, and loyalty, qualities that the public would only come to recognize years later. By the late 1990s, as the dust began to settle following Diana's tragic death, Charles and Camilla's relationship started to be seen in a new light. The royal family cautiously reintroduced Camilla to public life, mindful of the delicate balance required to win over the public. Their approach was gradual. Camilla was seen attending low-key events, often in the background, as she eased into her role alongside Charles. Behind the scenes, her warmth and down-to-earth personality began winning over those she met. One key turning point came in 2005, when Charles and Camilla finally tied the knot. Their wedding was not the grand spectacle one might expect for a royal union. Instead, it was a modest, private ceremony, followed by a blessing at St. George's Chapel. The subdued nature of the event reflected an understanding of public sentiment. Slowly but surely, the tide was beginning to turn. How did Camilla go from being shunned by the public to becoming a figure of admiration. It wasn't just time, it was action. Camilla's transformation wasn't just about waiting for public opinion to soften. It was about proving her worth. Over the years, she has championed causes close to her heart, using her platform to make a tangible difference. One of her most notable passions is her advocacy for victims of domestic abuse. Camilla has worked tirelessly to shine a light on this often hidden issue, meeting with survivors and raising awareness. Her dedication to the cause has earned her widespread praise, particularly from those who admire her empathy and commitment. She has also championed literacy, promoting the joy of reading and supporting initiatives to improve access to books. Her work in this area reflects her personal love of literature, a passion she shares with Charles. Through her charitable efforts, Camilla has carved out a role for herself as more than just a royal consort. She has become a respected figure in her own right, someone who uses her position to uplift others. Who would have thought that the woman once vilified by the media would become a champion for the voiceless? Camilla's story is a reminder that people can change, and so can perceptions. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in 2022, Camilla officially became Queen Consort alongside Charles. For many, this moment marked the culmination of her transformation. The public, once hostile, now greeted her with warmth and respect. Camilla has embraced her new role with grace, balancing the traditional duties of the monarchy with a modern sensibility. She remains an advocate for her causes while supporting Charles in his mission to modernize the monarchy. Her style as Queen Consort reflects her personality, unpretentious and approachable. She is often seen engaging warmly with people during royal engagements, a stark contrast to the distant, formal image of royals in the past. Camilla's public image has undergone one of the most remarkable transformations in royal history. From being cast as the other woman to being celebrated as a compassionate and dedicated consort, her journey is a testament to perseverance and character. The media has also shifted its tone. While Camilla may never escape the shadow of her past entirely, she is now often portrayed in a positive light. Her humor, intelligence, and steadfast support for Charles are qualities that have endeared her to many. In the end, Camilla's story is about more than scandal or redemption. It's about the power of authenticity. Camilla's rise to Queen Consort is a story of resilience and reinvention. It reminds us that public opinion is not set in stone and that time, combined with action, can heal even the deepest wounds. Her ability to stay true to herself, despite the noise, is what ultimately won people over. As she continues her role as Queen Consort, Camilla's legacy will likely be defined not by the controversies of the past, but by the positive impact she has made. And for a woman whose life has been under a microscope, that is perhaps the ultimate victory. So, what do you think? Is Queen Camilla's transformation proof that time can heal all wounds? Or does her story show us something even deeper about resilience and character? Let us know in the comments below. Real intersections between Pope Francis and the British monarchy. The Vatican and the British monarchy have one of the most fascinating diplomatic relationships in history. Their story is marked by centuries of tension, reconciliation, and transformation. From the tumultuous English Reformation to the modern-day efforts for global unity, this connection is a testament to how even the most divided institutions can find common ground. The 16th century English Reformation was a defining moment in this relationship. King Henry VIII's dramatic split from the Catholic Church wasn't just a political move, it was a deeply personal and theological conflict. When Pope Clement VII refused to annul Henry's marriage to Catherine of Aragon, Henry's response was revolutionary. He declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England, effectively severing ties with the Vatican. This decision didn't just reshape England's religious landscape, it sent shockwaves throughout Europe, creating a rift between the English crown and the papacy that would last for centuries. Despite this fraught history, the 20th century saw a remarkable shift. Diplomatic relations between the United Kingdom and the Vatican were formally restored in 1914, laying the foundation for a new era of cooperation. Queen Elizabeth II played a pivotal role in strengthening this bond. Her first audience with Pope John XXIII in 1961 was a powerful symbol of reconciliation. Over the decades, she met with 4 different popes, each meeting underscoring a shared commitment to peace and unity. A watershed moment in this relationship came in 1982 when Pope John Paul II became the first pope to visit the United Kingdom. His meeting with Queen Elizabeth II was a historic event, signaling a new chapter in Vatican-UK relations. The visit included a powerful mass in Wembley Stadium and a speech emphasizing reconciliation and shared values. The image of the Pope and the Queen standing side by side remains an enduring symbol of unity. Under Pope Francis's leadership, this relationship has deepened further. Known for his focus on social justice and progressive vision, Francis has found common ground with the British monarchy on issues like poverty alleviation, interfaith dialogue, and climate change. His 2017 meeting with then Prince Charles, now King Charles III, highlighted their shared commitment to these causes, particularly the urgent need for environmental stewardship. The Vatican-UK relationship is a remarkable example of how two institutions with complex histories can move beyond conflict to work collaboratively for the greater good. Pope Francis and King Charles III have a unique and compelling relationship that reflects their shared commitment to addressing global challenges. Their interactions are not just diplomatic gestures, they are meaningful exchanges that showcase their aligned values and mutual respect. One of their most significant meetings took place in 2019 when Charles, then Prince of Wales, visited the Vatican. The two leaders focused on interfaith dialogue, a subject close to both their hearts. Pope Francis, known for his emphasis on building bridges between different religious communities, found a kindred spirit in Charles, who has long advocated for religious tolerance and the protection of minority faiths. Their conversation underscored the role of religion in promoting global harmony, a theme that resonates in their respective leadership styles. Climate change has been another powerful area of alignment. Ahead of the COP26 summit in Glasgow, both leaders issued passionate calls for action. Pope Francis emphasized the moral imperative to protect our common home, a message rooted in his groundbreaking encyclical Laudato Si. Meanwhile, Charles, a pioneer in environmental advocacy, spoke about the need for sustainable solutions to combat the climate crisis. Although they didn't appear together, their messages complemented each other, amplifying the urgency of the issue on a global stage. Their relationship also reflects a shared redefinition of leadership. Pope Francis has broken traditional molds with his humility, accessibility, and focus on marginalized communities. Similarly, King Charles III has sought to use his platform to champion causes that often go unnoticed, from organic farming to indigenous rights. Both leaders exemplify a modern approach to leadership that prioritizes empathy, accountability, and action over ceremonial authority. This alignment extends beyond their shared concerns to their personal philosophies. Pope Francis's emphasis on humility and service mirrors Charles's belief in the importance of stewardship, whether of the environment, culture, or community. Their collaborative efforts, particularly in areas like ecological justice and interfaith dialogue, highlight the potential for religious and secular leaders to unite in pursuit of a common good. The connection between Pope Francis and King Charles III is not just a diplomatic relationship, it's a partnership rooted in shared values and a vision for a better world. Their interactions serve as a powerful example of how leaders from different spheres can come together to address humanity's greatest challenges. Religion has long been intertwined with the British monarchy, forming a cornerstone of its identity and traditions. As the supreme governor of the Church of England, King Charles III occupies a role of great religious significance. However, in today's increasingly secular and diverse society, the monarchy's relationship with religion is evolving. Pope Francis's progressive vision offers a fascinating lens through which to examine this transformation. King Charles III has expressed a desire to be a defender of faiths, rather than solely a defender of the Church of England. This inclusive approach reflects Britain's multicultural reality, where citizens practice a wide array of religions. Charles's acknowledgement of this diversity aligns closely with Pope Francis's interfaith initiatives. Francis has consistently called for dialogue and mutual respect among different faith communities, emphasizing that diversity should be a source of strength, not division. Queen Camilla, as Queen Consort, also plays a role in this evolving religious landscape. While her personal faith remains private, her charitable work reflects values central to both the monarchy and the papacy. From supporting survivors of domestic abuse to promoting literacy and education, Camilla's initiatives align with Pope Francis's emphasis on compassion and service. Her advocacy for marginalized groups mirrors the Pope's focus on uplifting the vulnerable and addressing systemic inequalities. The broader question of religion's role in modern monarchies is particularly relevant in an era of rapid social change. Pope Francis and King Charles III represent two institutions navigating this complex terrain. Both the Vatican and the monarchy are steeped in tradition, yet they are finding ways to adapt and remain relevant. For the papacy, this has meant a focus on issues like social justice, climate change, and interfaith dialogue. For the monarchy, it has meant embracing inclusivity and reflecting the diverse identities of its citizens. Pope Francis's teachings on humility, service, and the dangers of unchecked power resonate deeply with the modern British monarchy's efforts to redefine its role. Both institutions are moving away from hierarchical authority toward models of leadership that prioritize empathy and accountability. This shared evolution highlights the enduring relevance of faith and tradition in a world that often seems to prioritize progress over heritage. The intersection of the papacy and modern monarchies offers a rich and nuanced exploration of how tradition and progress can coexist. The relationship between the Vatican and the British monarchy is more than a matter of protocol or historical curiosity. It carries profound significance for global diplomacy, moral leadership, and the ability to address pressing international challenges. Pope Francis and King Charles III, as representatives of two enduring institutions, embody a unique partnership that speaks to the evolving role of tradition in a rapidly changing world. At its core, this relationship demonstrates the power of collaboration between seemingly disparate institutions. The Vatican, a spiritual authority with a global reach, and the British monarchy, a constitutional institution rooted in national identity, bring different strengths to the table. Together, they represent a convergence of moral and cultural influence that transcends borders. This synergy is particularly important in addressing challenges that no single nation or institution can tackle alone, such as climate change, global inequality, and interfaith tensions. Climate action, for instance, is a shared passion for both leaders. Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si redefined the Church's stance on environmental stewardship, framing it as a moral imperative. Similarly, King Charles III has spent decades championing sustainable practices, from organic farming to renewable energy. When these leaders advocate for environmental responsibility, their combined influence resonates with a diverse audience, from policymakers to faith communities to grassroots activists. Their partnership amplifies the urgency of climate action, offering both moral clarity and practical guidance. Social justice is another area where their alignment has significant implications. Pope Francis's relentless advocacy for the marginalized aligns with the monarchy's charitable initiatives. Under King Charles III and Queen Camilla, the monarchy has embraced causes that address systemic inequities, such as supporting at-risk youth and advancing educational opportunities. Together, these efforts underscore a shared belief in the transformative power of leadership rooted in empathy and service. Interfaith dialogue is perhaps the most symbolic aspect of their relationship. In an increasingly polarized world, their commitment to fostering understanding among diverse religious communities serves as a powerful counterpoint to division and conflict. Pope Francis's outreach to other faiths and Charles's inclusive approach to religious leadership demonstrate how institutions with deep historical ties to a single tradition can embrace pluralism. Ultimately, the relationship between Pope Francis and the British monarchy matters because it represents the potential for unity in a fractured world. Their collaboration serves as a reminder that even the oldest institutions can adapt, find common ground, and work together for the greater good, a hopeful vision for the future of global leadership. If you want to stay updated on this unfolding mystery and dive deeper into the secrets behind the Vatican and beyond, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's so much more to uncover, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay curious, and until next time.